guys are so funny. You're trying to get me to do this stupid shit. And
she just whispered, "I'm a bad bitch," for anyone who didn't hear. Stop. 420.
I'm lit at Disney.
And the kids asleep in the bath.
There we go.
A ball sack station.
That's what a business owner looks like. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tattoo Homewreckers, a podcast where we talk about tattoos, life, and everything in between. My name is Callista, and this is
Lou.
And today we have 21 questions yet again. However, this time around, it is the art edition.
And you will be the person asking the questions.
Period.
And you will be the person answering the questions.
Yes, and you will also answer, hopefully. But
maybe not.
Technically, I guess all of our 21 question episodes are still like 23 question episodes because we start and end the podcast with 2 questions.
I was like, what?
Bad math.
What kind of math are you currently doing?
Really bad math.
This is why you're an artist.
Yeah, literally.
You're the classic artist that does not enjoy math.
No, genuinely, I'm concerned for my left side of my brain because I have never won a round of Connect 4. Real story. Anyways, first question.
Wow. Wait.
Not art related. What?
Okay, not art related?
Yeah.
Okay, what does my gender feel like?
Yeah, what does your gender feel like?
Spoiler, I know the question. I would say that I feel like cotton candy, but not in water. Not dissolved, but like that like perfect piece of like cotton candy that you get at the fair. Before you bite it, when you have all your hopes and dreams and you're like, this is going to be amazing and delicious.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at. Because
Wow.
I'm in like a great creative flow. I've been, you know this, I've been decorating the house.
Perfect for the art episode.
Yeah, I've been decorating the dog's crates. I'm decorating a bunch of shit that doesn't actually like matter for my like career or anything like that. So just like purely selfish, fun art stuff.
Hey, anybody can argue that no art matters. So that sounds nice.
Well, I'm sure we could also argue that all art matters.
Exactly. So that matters.
Yes.
Oh.
What does your gender feel like before you start?
My gender feels like my gender feels like a grape. A large grape. Just because
Dude,
recently.
Yes. I can't believe how big those grapes were.
I was so desensitized. I got spoiled by these large ass grapes because when
They're
I looked at it, I was like, oh
huge.
damn, they are big. I've been on a grape kick recently. Don't know why.
Yeah.
Not
And
gonna
then
question it.
we discovered that I'm allergic to grapes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't like grapes. I'm like, is it because of the bursting? And you were driving.
Yeah.
And you don't like the things that pop in your mouth
I don't, because they make me think of cockroaches, and you would know that if you lived in the South and you ever stepped on a palmetto bug.
Oh my God. And I thankfully have never stepped on a palmetto bug or had them fly towards my face. I hear stories. But yeah, you were like, no, I don't like the bursting. And also, and I was like, you're fucking joking. You're so joking.
Because I can have like 2, and then everything starts to get itchy.
Then it caps out, and that means you're allergic.
Yep.
That's so funny. Okay.
I feel the same way about pineapple, but I refuse. I just keep eating it even though it's so itchy.
I'm not going to lie. I might be slightly allergic to pineapple. I don't get itchy, but after a certain amount of pieces, it starts to taste like spicy to me.
Yeah, I have the same thing.
Like spicy and bitter at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is
our
an
body
exact.
saying, you need to stop.
Yeah, I can have like a couple pieces, and then I'm like, and my body is like, I don't like this no more, and I'm like,
I can have a
fine.
few pieces.
Yeah.
Like I can have a good amount. But genuinely, yeah, it's weird because it goes from 0 to 100.
Same thing.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's like, no, we don't want this anymore.
That's what happens with grapes. I can eat 2 of them, and then I'm like, nope, can't eat any more of those.
No more grapes for you.
Yep.
That's okay. Now we know.
Oh, we should cheers with our fun cups. If you're not watching on YouTube, we have these amazing little hands. They're little skeleton hands. We bought them for the shops.
So
Halloween
funny.
party this weekend.
So adorable.
And decided that we were going to use them today.
Yes. So here we are.
I have
using
a
them.
goblet.
They're very cute. What a steal, by the way. Shout out to Dollar Tree. Because I had no idea that Dollar Tree was a gold mine for all sorts of little Halloween things.
Yeah. And I'm for sure taking these with us. So these are going to be what I drink out of for a minute. This has become my safety cup now.
Yeah, we're going to steer. We're going to do another 180 really quick because we're moving to a different country. Obviously, we are not purchasing a lot of things because that's more things that we have to purchase. I think this is the longest I've ever gone without purchasing a new item of clothing. With that being said, I was eyeballing Melanie Martinez's shirts earlier today, but no, Maybe.
Unless it's going with you, you don't get to buy it.
Totally. And yeah, we were like, oh gosh, it's been a whole thing trying to decorate the house because we're usually one of the coolest houses in our neighborhood.
Yes.
But alas, because we're selling, we can't necessarily do that anymore. So you went ahead and went to the Dollar Tree.
Store.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're able to find a bunch of really cool shit. I genuinely didn't think
that's
that they would have a lot.
It gets flat. So like we have little plastic skeletons that are currently outside the house. And then it was mostly just so we can get decorations for the Halloween party for the studio this weekend. Mm-hmm. So if you're not doing anything and you're listening to this before the 19th,
yep,
I think that's when it is, the 19th of October, we are doing our 1-year anniversary for the shop and also a Halloween party. But then I was thinking about how lame our house looks because it just looks like everyone else who didn't decorate. And I have a personal vendetta against not decorating. Totally. I think that like you should absolutely decorate your house for whatever things you want to decorate because it creates magic for other people, i.e. me and kids. We talked about this last year. We got shamed.
Children.
Yeah, we got shamed by a little boy for not having our spider out. Mm-hmm. And then he came by I think it was probably like last week or so because I was in the garage and then his dad like was talking to him about the fact that like, well, they're selling their house. That's why they don't have decorations. And I was like, oh no, I have a Cricut and removable vinyl. I have windows I can decorate right now.
Yeah.
So we are currently making the house look like apothecary stuff. Caboose has some leftover wood, so he'll cut out some like cute little potion bottles. Mm-hmm. But even if you are moving, if you are going to be in your house for holidays, you can still decorate. So
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
It.
You guys have really been crushing it. Meanwhile, I've been doing nothing.
Well, you're doing social media stuff.
I'm doing social media stuff. I'm like, okay, the house looks dope. I'm really grateful that you're still decorating.
Sticker's still on the bottom of this.
Oh, I fully did not get rid of my sticker. And
I tried to, and then I got distracted. Okay, so 21 art questions.
Yes. Are you ready?
No.
Just so you know, some of these are from other people and some of these are from me because it was hard to find a cohesive good list. So the first one is, as a kid, what was your favorite medium of art?
Markers. Always markers.
Really?
Crayons, garbage. Hate crayons.
Yeah, I've always hated crayons.
Yeah, I don't like the texture. I don't like the feel. I don't like they're waxy. They're gross. Mm-hmm. I can't believe I didn't know I had sensory issues.
A lot of people don't.
Colored pencils are fine, but
depends on the brand, though.
Yeah.
Unless
it's Prismacolor, I'm not doing it. But yeah, markers were always it. Like when I was younger, it was Sharpies. Because you could draw on people with markers and you could draw on clothes with markers.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you can also just get nice saturation. So yeah, markers all the way.
Always been markers.
Always.
I think for me as a kid, this is really ironic considering that like I really struggle with watercolor now, but watercolor paints were my favorite.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. And I think the way that I did watercolor actually it makes more sense with markers because it wouldn't be like a flowy kind of art form for me. It would be very much like controlled and still saturated.
That just means you were an oil painter as a child and you just didn't have oil paint.
I still have never done oil painting before.
You would like oil painting because it has that control. I just don't like a paintbrush because I don't think that a paintbrush is the same level of control because I don't have that skill set as markers or pens.
I have this weird thing with a paintbrush that I can this is the only time I've ever been able to do this with an object, but I am able to see, sense, and feel how that paintbrush feels when it glides across the thing. So cool.
That's how I feel with the tattoo machine. The first time I ever picked up a tattoo machine,
That's
everyone
rad.
was like, the depth and all. I was like, what are you talking about? This whole thing makes sense.
It's all
and it's the same thing with
holistic
Sharpies.
Almost.
Yeah.
It's not a science. Well, it is a scientific thing, but instead of an equation in your brain, it's more of a feeling, which is super cool.
And that's how I feel the same way with markers, where it's the pressure that needs to apply, the angles that need to go in. Mm-hmm. And so the flow of a marker is very similar to me for the flow of a tattoo machine.
This makes me so happy to talk about. How cool. Are you ready for your second question?
Yes.
Okay. Who inspired you as an artist growing up?
As much as I hate to admit it because we don't speak now, my mom definitely inspired me because she was really creative. She was definitely, I talked to you about this a lot, about all the different stuff she did where she...
So many different trades.
Yeah. So many different avenues where it's she loved doing Halloween makeup and sewing and painting, and she did all sorts of different crafts and activities.
Yep.
So she was a big inspiration for me as a kid because at that point, and I mean, even now, we have our differences and we don't speak and stuff, but I wouldn't I wouldn't say there's anything artistically that if she put her mind to it, she couldn't do.
Oh, that's
like
impressive.
Any medium that she was ever like, oh, I'm curious about this. And then you would see it and be like, well, why is that so fucking good? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you're like, damn, okay.
Yeah.
So this is your first time doing this?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
For sure.
One of those.
She's like, oh, a quilt? And then you're like, how long have you quilted? And she's like, this is my first quilt. And you're like, oh, great.
Ouch. Yeah. Totally.
But
totally.
it meant that like I also grew up in a place that like, because that was the norm, it was just like, hey, you didn't give up because you weren't like good at it. Like that just means like you tried harder.
Inevitably, you were going to run into issues being a first timer. It's cool to like be able to have someone exemplify like, okay, even though this is the first time I'm doing this, I'm still going to persevere through it.
Yeah.
I'm still going to figure it out. You might come up with ways that you could have done it better next time, but it's still like a solid quilt. That's impressive.
Yeah. What about you? Who inspired you?
For me, it was my Uncle Gene. He used to do these crazy, like huge, I'm talking like 5 foot tall paintings, oil paintings of Marvel and DC characters.
Oh, that's awesome.
Super rad. And unfortunately, I was never able to like really get him at the peak of his like art career because like he tried going to art school and it just didn't work out for him. And then he ended up just like stopping, like he just didn't pursue it at all at one point. So I kind of got him at the tail end when I was finally like making memories as a child. I got him at the tail end of his art career. So I was never able to see a piece from start to finish. But I've always seen like finished pieces and I always thought they were so insanely cool. And he gave me a ton of sketchbooks and like colored pencils and taught me how to use Microsoft Paint.
Yeah.
As a kid. And so he was my huge inspiration.
I love that. My Uncle David was like that as well. Yeah. For the shop. Yeah. He gave us the tattoo painting. And his was landscapes. So like whenever I saw his landscapes, I was like, this is fucking
very jealous
amazing.
Of landscape artists because I can't.
I love it. So all the paintings in the house we have are landscapes.
Yeah, they're rad.
That's all, but I have zero desire to do landscapes.
Fuck no.
Yeah. And like my favorite like Dylan is like an artist that I have around the house a lot. And it's the same thing. Like when I look at this stuff, like the whole reason why I was like, okay, well, I need a shipping container, not just to move our gym equipment. But I was like, I have pieces of artwork that I can't get rid of.
Yeah, that you don't want to get rid of.
Yeah. So when people move and they're like, I'm getting rid of everything, I'm like, those pieces of artwork are like critical pieces.
Yeah, they've like and you form kind of a bond with them too. It's a different bond than any other object where it's like this painting was like born and crafted into this world same as us.
Yeah.
And it's been with you for this amount of time. You don't want to get rid of that.
I can't get rid of them.
Totally. Number 3, what's your favorite thing to draw?
Something that's cute but fucked up.
Cute but fucked
Usually
up.
animals like yeah. Like what is it? I forgot what they call it. It's not anthropomorphized, whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
Where you make an animal look somewhat human. So yeah, that's like my favorite.
Yeah, cute but fucked up.
And if it's cute but like it's like eating a heart or it's like inappropriately having sex with things.
So adorable, but also oh my god, what are you doing?
I like that duality of like it's so cute but also oh no.
Oh no.
Like that's my favorite. It's why I still stand by the fact that I love like furry porn for that like moment when you're like, the artwork is immaculate.
Oh, dude, yeah. The biggest compliment I've ever received, I got this compliment recently. Someone told me I should get into drawing furries.
Yes.
And they were like, dude, there's a lot of money in that industry. Like, you don't have to do sexualized like furries, but like you could do that.
But it's so fucking cute.
I thought it was very sweet. I was like, yeah, dude. My first answer to my favorite thing to draw was titties, but I think that's inappropriate.
That's not inappropriate. I just said that I like fucking...
Cute but fucked up.
Yeah, cute but fucked up. Also, I'm still jealous that you don't tattoo titties on your friends.
I know. I didn't realize that. What is that subconscious
you're supposed to talk to your therapist about that.
I know. I should have talked to her about it today. God damn it.
So like, why can't I put tits on my friends?
Why is that a thing? Okay, number 5. Is there any... Oh, I'm sorry, number 4. What's your least favorite thing to draw?
Ooh, landscapes.
Same.
Yeah.
Fuck that. God. Or architecture, I can't do it. No, I refuse. I don't want to draw buildings.
Yeah, I just get bored. I get really, really bored. Actually, you know what I should go back to? Like one of my favorite things to draw, fabric. Ooh, I love doing the folds in fabric.
You're very good at it.
I think it's just from studying classical paintings. Like I love a lot of classical inspiration when it comes to the lighting. I very much enjoy that. But yeah,
I
buildings.
guess my second would be figure drawing, like any kind of like full body thing. I really like anatomy, like stuff like that. I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, no I'm sorry, landscapes and fucking architecture. I can't do.
Same.
No, I'm over it.
I'm also angry about trees because
I'm mad about trees.
I am angry about trees because when you look in nature, they like don't have any sort of balance. They're just like all sorts of like beautifully imperfect. But for some reason, specifically with tattooing, because I think a lot of like drawing, obviously a lot of drawing I do is for tattoos.
Yeah.
You have to like balance out your fucking trees or it just looks like a poorly done tattoo.
Totally.
And that makes me really angry because that's not how trees look.
No.
And so it pisses me off because like there's a whole different set of rules when it comes to drawing for tattoos than it comes for drawing just for the sake of drawing.
Especially if you want a balanced piece, like you said. Like
and that's what I don't like.
Defeating the purpose of nature.
Yeah.
Because you're crafting it yourself. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Every time I have to draw a tree, I'm like, God damn it. This is meant for me to look at, not for me to draw. Okay. Number 5, finally. Is there any art medium that you suck at?
Painting.
Painting? You think you suck at painting?
I hate it.
I think you don't like it. I think you're good at it. I just don't think you like it. I think that if you really put your brain to it, you're really good. I just don't think you like it.
I don't like it, which is why I suck at it.
That's okay.
Because I don't want to try. And then
you're
then when
expecting me to try.
do try, then everyone's like, "Oh my god, you should do this more often," and that's not fun.
Yeah,
it's like black and gray tattoos. If I do a black and gray tattoo, especially if it's like soft realism, like the stippling, I can't do for shit.
But the fucking realism that you do, that it's so smooth.
Yeah, and it's so boring.
Yeah.
It makes me want to fucking shoot myself.
Totally.
And that's how I feel about painting, is that I'm like, this is so boring. I would much rather just be like I used to do like the little like Bic pens, like just the old school like roller pen, where you color an entire page like fucking solid black.
Dude.
Yeah. Where you have like a cutout design that is the paper, and then you just color the whole thing. And like that to me is great. But if you were like, do it with a paintbrush, I'm like, never mind.
I remember I have a journal entry somewhere. You told me to do that when I was an apprentice, or you told me that that was one of the exercises you did. And so I tried, and then I literally filled out like probably 1/16 of the page. That's Bailey walking around if you hear her.
That's Callie farting.
A fart doesn't remotely sound like that. If it does, go to the hospital. Oh my God. But yeah, I filled out 1/16 of the page and I was like, I'm not doing this.
That's how I know that you were not meant to be like an old school traditional tribal artist.
I can't do it. I was like,
that was the part, like you would draw on the tribal onto people and be like, oh my gosh, this is like great. You do the line work and they'd be so excited because like, oh my gosh, you're so fast. And then you're like, oh, you're in for it now. Especially when I first started working and I didn't have machines that were powerful enough to like have mags. And that was also like when a lot of us were still making needles. And so mags were not as readily available. And then on top of that, I had fucking liner machines that could not power a mag.
That's crazy.
My little baby Danny Fowlers. But so that meant that like whole back pieces of tribal had to be colored in with a 14 round.
I specifically wrote on the page, I was like, this is some Mr. Miyagi shit. And I just didn't do the rest of it.
That's crazy. Fine. You made it through your apprenticeship.
That's like, well, to be
you
fair,
made it. You're a great tattoo artist.
You didn't request for me to do it. I just wanted to see what it was like. And I made it through 1/16 of the page and said, no, I'm not doing this.
I just threw away a bunch of artwork, but I had whole like giant poster boards. Like the 24 by 36 that we did, that was like the only size one of my teachers in college would let me do. And I did everything with, I mean, it was like everyone had to do like large scale shit like that. Yeah. And so everyone else is doing like painting and I'm like, I hate paintbrushes. So I'm just markers.
That's so funny.
Like that's it. Y'all. Just me and a fucking tiny ass little fucking marker. Just like, all right, that's it.
If you get enjoyment out of it, then send it on that. I think that's great. Okay. Number 6, is there an art medium that you excel at?
Wait, you didn't answer the question. What do you suck at?
That I suck at? I would say, honestly, I really do struggle with watercolor now. My brain just doesn't work like that anymore. As much as I want to try to do watercolor, every time I see one of my watercolor paintings, I'm like, girl, what happened?
That's crazy. I think they're good.
Thank you.
Your sushi watercolor?
Thank you. I just feel like, well, sushi's different because like sushi always looks good no matter what. I'll do anything for sushi. I'll make it look good no matter what.
I think it's another one of those cases where you don't suck at it. You just don't love it as much.
Yeah, maybe I just don't like it. Yeah. It could be one of those. That and I cannot for the life of me do ceramics. Like I can't do the spinning of the pottery thing.
Oh my God. I want to do that so bad.
That shit's I fucking suck. It's so hard.
It's one of my favorite
I want to do it too. And I'm
we
like,
should take classes when we move.
That'd be cute. Yeah, that'd be super cute. I would love that.
Yeah.
But I also be prepared for me to be like, man, what the fuck?
That's the point.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're supposed. It's the entry level on it is really. It's like tattooing. The entry level is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you first start tattooing, it's hard.
You're about to see
not
me
for
cry
me,
over
but
some
for
pots.
other people. Because I came in from that marker background that I swear to God that made tattooing easy. But like it is hard when you first start, and it's the same thing with that. Is that the like entry of it is it's a high fucking price. You're gonna suck for a fucking while, but then once you get like the techniques down, then you're gonna excel.
That
so
makes sense.
in the beginning, you're gonna be like, this is
like
garbage.
really just shit.
Yeah, if you think about it like CrossFit, like there's just so much to learn. Everything sucks. And then one day, all this shit starts clicking, and you're like, oh my God. And it's the same with pottery.
Thank God, I can do this now. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah.
Sculpting is one of those things that I also claim to hate. But then when I do it, I'm like, oh my God,
I like.
You're good at this. And
I should try like large scale sculpting because so far I've only ever done tiny
and they're
things.
so cute and they're so good. That's what I can't do. That tiny bitsy shit.
Tiny.
Like,
yeah.
If it's not like 4 feet tall, I don't want to do it.
It needs
not
to
that
be
big.
It needs to be big.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Any art form that you excel at?
That's a weird question to ask. That seems very like.
I would say besides tattooing. We're gonna nix that from both of our answers. You could say markers. You're really good at those.
Okay, yeah, Copics.
Yeah.
And I just sold all of them.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Was that bittersweet for you?
Not really.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I very much am in a place where like it was much harder getting rid of all of my holiday decorations right before the holidays. I'm like,
totally.
But like, yeah, the Copics, especially because they went to like someone who's really excited about them. And like now I currently have paint pens so I can decorate the girls' dog crate. So like, yeah, as long as I have some form of markers, I'm totally happy.
Yeah. And also like, here's the thing. If you're ever like really sad about it, you could always get a new set. That's fine.
Oh, I mean, that is my plan once we go visit Japan because they're way like I bought most of those in Japan.
That's so smart.
I bought them some in the US at Dick's and then or at Dick Blick, and then most of them in Japan because they were like 100 yen.
Yeah, they're
for one
super.
marker.
Well,
they're
I mean,
hella cheap.
they're a Japanese product, so I guess that makes sense. That's really cool, though. Well,
yeah,
everyone, let's go to Japan. Art medium that I excel at, I would say probably acrylic painting.
Really, you think so? I'm sorry,
you could use some work on it. That's funny. Really? Are you sure? I fed you your answer. God damn it! Wow.
No, I would say paints. Yeah.
I would say, acrylic paints, which I should definitely, when we move to New Zealand, I think I'll try my hand at oil painting because I would love to do it. I've just been a little bit too intimidated.
And I think that like the stuff that I find that you get frustrated at with acrylics is all solved with oils because you get mad at how quick stuff dries with acrylic.
I'm like, God damn, I have to color match this thing again. What the fuck?
And I'm like, you need oils. Like you genuinely need oils.
There's a part of me that's like, no, real artists use oil paints. I don't want to do that.
That's how I feel about painting. That's partly why I don't like painting.
Yeah, it feels
weird. I'm like, no, I would rather not be a real artist. I would rather be over here being a fake artist.
Let me just, you're not fake if you're still producing it from your mind. But
no, I'm a fake artist.
That's fine. You know what? We'll
poser.
You're a poser.
Yeah. Caboose tried to tell me that I was punk, that I was like punk rock. And I was like, I'm not punk rock. I don't like the music. And then he read me the entire description of punk. And it was like, your aesthetic, your anti-establishment, your anti-fucking like monopolies, your anti-capitalism. And I was like, okay, that sounds like something I'm adjacent to. However. You
don't line yourself up with punk?
No.
That's crazy.
No.
I'm so surprised. Okay.
I don't listen to that music.
You don't have to listen to the music to be described as punk. I mean, if you were punk rock, then yeah, you would have to listen to the music. But like, I feel like the embodiment of punk is the fact that like you don't align yourself with any kind of structure, which would include like people who are like, yeah, I'm punk rock. That's still technically a structure.
Yeah, and that's what because I was like, well, I don't wear Doc Martens because I think it's stupid to buy shoes that you have to break in. And he was like, and that's very punk of you.
It is very punk.
And I was like, I believe in Rocket Dogs because you could just buy them and they're already broken in and they're comfortable.
Punk. Maybe not punk fucking rock, but okay.
Can you punk country? I like country music.
Punk country. I'm sure there's a genre out there. Number 7. What would you want to get better at as an artist?
Everything.
Dude, I really want to... Really? Everything?
Yes.
I mean, that's fair. Everything, yes.
Yeah, I want to be able to take... It's so frustrating the amount of like shit that lives inside of my brain that I lack the skill set for, which is why I want to take like art classes. So that way I can get the stuff that lives inside of my brain onto paper.
Yeah.
The way that it looks inside my brain.
I've got 2 things that I really want to focus on.
Perfect.
A, simplifying my designs. B, lighting. I want to get better at lighting.
Simplifying your designs. Tell me more.
So I think I want to be able to shade things in a way that like reads from across the room. And I think I get a little bit in a lot of the pieces that I do. I get a little bit too in my head about it. I'm headed towards that direction.
I know how to tell you how to do that right now.
Can you tell me?
Yeah. I'll give you the secret. A, don't zoom in on your tablet. And the first thing you do, and this will help you with lighting as well, is just with a gray brush, go and add all the shadows. Keep your design as like small as possible on your tablet.
Oh, cool.
So because when you zoom in is when we go over the top, and then we zoom back out and we're like, oh fuck, our tattoo design's been ruined because like it's only going to be like, fucking 5-8 inches tall. But you go in and you do all of the shadows, and you basically it's like the same as like underpaint before you add any of the colors. So you do it all with like grays, or you can do it with sepia, whichever you prefer. Traditional classical paintings are done with sepia, with like a sepia wash. But if you do it, I find grays work really well on the tablet screens because it gives enough contrast. Yeah. And that way you'll know like what reads, and you don't have to worry about the colors for reading because you know that structurally in black and gray, it will read.
Smart. Okay.
Yeah. And then that also allows you to lay in all your shadows first.
Yeah, because then you can focus on your lighting.
Yeah. So that way you can work on your lighting and working on that like legibility from a distance.
Thank you. I'm going to try that out. I definitely I really want to hone in on those 2 things because I feel like those are the main ingredients of the direction in which I want to tattoo in. I've been looking at a lot of Jamie Iris's stuff, and I'm like really heavily inspired by him lately. Like I'm like, God, every single thing he posts is so good. Lights in a classical Renaissance lighting like way. So if even though like it's very like new school, well, it's cool because it reads as like new school, and it reads as like almost like anime, but it's not. It really isn't. There is some YouTube videos on like classical Renaissance paintings, and we had to watch them for the art class that I took for someone. I was the college class that I took on behalf of someone. Allegedly. Allegedly. No one can prove it. No one knows who. But you can't take away degrees. But yeah, we watch, and like if you break down, because classical paintings, like specifically the Renaissance, they really emphasize like lighting, dude. Like, and if you watch those videos, chiaroscuro or something like that, where it's a heavy fucking like contrast, and that's what he does with his chiaroscuro. I could be pronouncing it so wrong. I don't care. You guys know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah. And if you don't, you've now become a fan of Dan Cummings, so now you know that pronunciation doesn't matter. Yes, it took me this long to actually. Dan Cummings. Shout out to Time Suck. Love your podcast. Okay. Okay. All right. Number 8. What is your favorite thing about being an artist? Ooh. I don't know. That's a hard question. You want me to go first? Yeah. I like the time travel. I like that I can time travel. It's so cool because like I'll just be doing art and like all of a sudden it's 3 hours later and I'm like, oh, cool. That's so cool. Yeah. This sounds really weird. It's probably other people's like reaction. Oh no, that's great. Like to be able to, it's the same reason why I've talked about this extensively on this podcast, but like the same reason why I love like people walking into the shop and it's magic for them the first time. The same way like our downstairs bathroom is still magic. So it's the same thing with like us decorating the house for Halloween, is that like to watch other people like reminds me of those moments as a kid when I saw artwork that I was like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. Like I still remember my first time in an art museum, and seeing artwork that I was like, this is like in that sense time travel, because like obviously I went to like
the British Museum.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like Egyptian artwork, and that was really like pivotal for me as a child because it was genuinely like you were like time traveling back to that like period, and somebody like meticulously hand painted all of those hieroglyphics. And that part to me was just so like cool to be like, wow, this is like taking me back. So like for me, it's that time travel, but going the other way.
It's the experience too, right?
Yeah.
The whole experience of it, of like, oh my God, like you can time travel, or you could just travel to a different place.
Yeah.
That's what our bathroom is like you travel into the forest, or like even the shop, you travel into Barbie Land.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh my, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
How
and
gorgeous.
like taking people somewhere else from like their current place is like my favorite thing.
Wow, that's a really good answer. Mine's just time travel.
No, yours inspired that because I was like, how do I explain this? Where it's like, it's not necessarily about having positive reactions from
like,
people.
I like the fact that I can lose time out of the day.
I mean, I think mine's a little different for that because I'm oftentimes sad where I'm like, oh my God, 5 hours have just gone by. And I'm like, 5 hours of my life is gone.
Really? I'm like, woo! Oh my God.
That might change as you get older.
Yeah, it might actually. I will say I had my first, just real quick 180. I had my first like real actual thought of death, of the fact that my life's going to end. And it is a crazy experience because you're like, you think about it in passing, but when you're in it, it was weird because like all the lights got brighter. Like I was seeing in high definition. And I had this moment and my brain was like, girl. And I was like, girl, oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Welcome to your fucking late 30s. And I'm scared for my 40s because I'm in my late 30s already like irrepressible thoughts of death. Okay.
Yeah, but everyone says that your 40s is dope though because of those. So maybe you'll unleash like the power of the irreversible thoughts of death.
Hopefully.
Okay. Anyway, so I said, what is your favorite thing? Number 9 is what is your least favorite thing
about being an artist?
Yes.
The frustration that happens when what you picture in your brain cannot come to fruition.
Yeah.
Like for whatever reason that is, the lack of technology, which tends to be where I'm at, where I'm like, hey, I don't have access to these, like, you know, this technology. Like I look at our Cricut and I'm like, I need another fucking bigger Cricut.
I need an apothecary sign on my window, stat.
And I'm like, and I need it to be this big. And I'm having to like hijack like my way around things to try to make it happen.
Totally.
So that's it. Is that when you're like, I have this picture, but like, how do I make that fucking happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think my initial thing was like, being so critical of my own work. But I honestly do like that. I like that about me just because it makes you better. I think it's a really important part of being an artist is being critical of your own work. My least favorite thing about being an artist is, this is going to sound very egotistical, but you're taken out of the moment a lot when, like in movies, for example, or like in a haunted house, or like you're looking at like someone's makeup on like FX makeup and it's not nearly there. That's the worst thing about being an artist because you know that like they could have done better and this is how. Yeah. I think that's the worst part for me.
I agree.
I can't just enjoy it. You know, like it's just like, oh, well.
I think about that because like people that watch anything in the medical field or like when they watch it are like, oh, for fuck's sake. And I'm like, that's the same thing.
Tattoos in movies are so funny, but at least we hardly get to see them.
Oh, yeah.
You know? We hardly ever. There's whole shows on like the medical field that are so incredibly inaccurate. That must be so shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bummer. Okay. Number 10. When you draw a face, which facial feature do you start with?
Nose.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think it's a good anchor point for where the rest of the face is going to lie. It's also like, I think subconsciously for me, tells me what direction everything's going as well. So I also do the nose.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was easy. Number 11. Why are hands so hard to draw?
Okay. Here's my thing. Hands are hard to draw because they make no sense. Your arm has arms on the end of it.
Oh my God.
It doesn't make any fucking sense because just like this is my arm,
bitch,
built of multiple joints, my fingers, my fucking hand has 5 fucking arms on it. I'm gonna have to edit
weird. A flashback of this because you literally said this more than a year ago. It's crazy.
Fucking weird. That's why, because it's weird and it doesn't make fucking sense. And also because hands are just, in all honesty, ugly.
You think they're ugly?
Yes.
Wow.
Listen to my theory on that.
Let me hear it.
I personally don't think they're ugly, but I think that human beings do not like hands which is why the slightest bit of like a difference, like if we're not to call Megan Fox out, but like we all talk mad shit, like on the internet, they talk mad shit. I didn't talk mad shit. I don't give a fuck about her thumb, but like about her having a toe thumb. And it's just a fucking thumb.
It's just a regular thumb.
Hands are something that like we think we know what a hand looks like, but when you actually draw it with accuracy, then people are like, that's not correct. So you're always drawing a hand of what you think a hand looks like. And if it gets too realistic, then people are like, nope, that's not correct. Yeah, so you have to exaggerate it to make it attractive.
I was going to say...
it's the same thing with eyeballs and makeup, like female eyeballs.
Lumps. There's a lot of lumps in hands.
And folds. There's so many folds and
depending on where your light source is, it all changes like how the hand looks. I think hands could be easy to draw if you chose a style. Like Samurai Jack, for example, was the way that I learned how to draw hands. It's very boxy. And then you go on from there and you can build a realistic hand from that. Yeah. But stylized hands are always the way to go. Yeah. I love doing like a boxy hand. Those are my favorite. I hardly get to tattoo them. But yeah, boxy
I like doing I learned hands in the like realistic side because that's how my mom did it. Because when she was in art school, they did like an entire year where they did nothing but study hands. So the way she could do hands was like great. Yeah. But it was the same thing that like if you stared at them too long, you're like,
yeah. I don't know.
And I feel like that's the case of like most things. Like if you stare at it for a long time, you're like, I don't know.
Does it really look like that?
And it's the same way that like we decide, like I stopped doing portraits because portraits can very easily, like if a person is just what we would consider to be unattractive, then people are like, that's a shitty portrait. And you're like, it's a really good portrait of an unattractive person.
Like, yeah. Like objectively, that is what they look like. Yeah. 100%. And hands, too, are one of those things that like, yeah, when you stare at them for too long, they don't really make any sense. I think also because they're meant to be in motion. Yeah. They're not really meant to be a still frame.
Well, because if you looked at my hand and like you drew my middle finger where I have that like callus and also indentation from decades of fucking tattooing, you'd be like, oh, that's somebody fucked up that middle finger. And it's like, no, that's specifically because it's not on both sides. It's specifically just a callus and an indent from tattooing. So it's easy to like look at it and be like, oh, that's an imperfection. You're like, but that's actually accurate.
Yeah. So really.
So yeah.
That's why hands are hard to draw.
Because they're stupid.
Number 12.
Arms on arms.
Arms on arms. How do you know when a piece is done?
When I'm tired.
Oh my God, bitch.
When
I'm done tattooing you.
Yes.
when I'm
done tattooing you. I don't know. I would say as a tattoo artist, there's a couple times when you know that a piece is done. A, when you've run out of colors and now it's time to use white.
Yep.
B, when your client can no longer sit and it looks good enough. And C, when your client can sit and you're actually satisfied.
Yeah.
That last one happens happens less often than you'd like.
We're all aiming for C.
Yeah, we're all aiming for C, but I think in all honesty, we end up with B a lot.
Yes. Unfortunately, like, oh my God, dude, like a lot of clients will make you tap out for them.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, and like a lot of people will be like, I've never done that before. If you have a hard time sitting, yes, you've made your artist do that before. I hate to say it, but every artist has done it. I think I know when a piece is done is, when I pull out the white.
Yeah.
When I'm ready to do my lightest tones, that's when the piece is done. And the whole satisfied bit. But yeah, there are times where it's like, okay, so you're clearly not having a good time. We're good. We don't need to push it any farther.
This is good enough for you.
Yep. 13. What is one of your favorite pieces you've created lately and why?
My Rachacorn.
So good.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I got to I was inspired by another artist there where since moving to Reno, I've lost myself a lot artistically. And even like with the shop, because Reno is not a like place in which I feel inspired and the general public does not respond well to my preferred art style.
Oh, period, dude. And we've talked about this before a lot. Like all my black and gray pieces, people go fucking bonkers over. Yeah. The second I post a piece from my heart, it's like crickets.
Oh yeah. And like there's a fear of color lines here, unless it's like the soft realism that I do. But like new school with just color lines is not a thing here. Like everyone wants a bold black outline because it is a traditional town. So that was a piece that I got to like do a purple outline on, and I just got to like have fun. And also Rachel didn't pay me for it, so I got to take as much fucking time as I wanted.
Totally.
Because I'm not like dealing with someone being like, how long is this going to take? What's it going to cost? And then she also just sits like a fucking rock. So I got to just like fully relax into the piece. And even though we were at a convention, so it was like hard to like feel creatively inspired, it was a piece that I got to just like relax through. And that doesn't happen too often either, where you get to just be like, you know what? Fuck it. And just genuinely play
and create.
And create. And so like, and I really liked like it was the nice like soft shading, what I really like doing, while still getting to like color pack in spots.
And you got to do that color outline.
And I got to color outline it. And then also like it's just, I mean, it's on her inner arm, so it's like a spot that I also really like, because I'm a fucking weirdo that likes really painful spots on the body.
And also hard to tattoo. Like that area, I was all like, oh damn, you're gonna fit a whole pin up there, and then you did, and I was like, that's so impressive, because like you're like tattooing like this.
Well, and it's like in a going around existing pieces, and you know that's that like puzzle piece part of my brain that loves it, where it's like, oh, a cover up, or hey, you have to like design within this weird spot. And I love those parts of like designing like that.
Totally.
So like overall, it was just like everything that I wanted in one piece.
Yeah, you like that challenge. For
What's your piece?
I would have to say Cole's piece. I swear to God, we're not saying it because they're our friends. I swear to God.
No, but I think there is like a beauty to tattooing your friends, because there is like when they say just do what the fuck you want, it's a genuine thing.
Yeah.
And it's also, I guess the easiest way to explain it to people who are like, no, but I feel that way. Like there's a different level of like being comfortable. It's like being able to get like hella drunk around your friends versus being able to get hella drunk at a bar.
Totally.
Like at a bar, you're still like, oh, I still need to like make sure I make it home safe. But with your friends, you're just like, I'm already at home, so it doesn't matter. Like I can just crawl upstairs. And so when you're tattooing your friends, there is that comfort level of like, no, but like if you didn't finish that piece, it's not a big deal. You get to see it again. So if you're like, hey, give me like another fucking hour on that tattoo.
Yeah, you get to see it heal. Yeah. And you're like looking at it and you're like, would you be down? Like, actually, you don't have a choice. You're going to hang out with me.
I was going to say, I like it. You're like, would you? I'm like, you don't have a choice. Like if I want to go back in a piece, I'm going back in.
Yeah, come back in.
Yeah.
We're going to schedule this time. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think there's just a comfort. I do. That piece was immaculate.
Thank you.
Also, no titties.
No titties. It looks like she had, like, I don't know why. The way she poses is very, like, very sultry, but no titties.
All the pieces that you draw for us look like they have big,
like
huge
they're
titties.
Gonna have
like, you're
honkers.
Like, they got melons on them.
And I love tattooing titties, so I don't know why. Subconsciously on my friends, I was like, no titties for you.
I know, right?
You already have
Fucking
titties.
Rude.
Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. Yeah, I would say Cole's piece. It's one of those pieces that was directly inspired by Jamie Iris. Amazing work, and it's like the closest piece I've had to where I felt like, oh, this is what I want to do on a daily. This is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So
that's how I felt about Rachel's piece too.
Fuck yeah.
Where I was like, yeah, this is what I want to be tattooing.
Hey,
like
New
I
Zealand.
miss tattooing this.
Let's fucking go. That's what we're about. We're gonna do it more in New Zealand. Absolutely. Okay. Now we're on number 14. What colors are mostly found in your artwork?
Aquamarine, pink, purple.
Aquamarine, pink, and purple. I would say this is hella funny that I only know this in like tattoo ink forms. Yellowstone by World Famous.
Which is a very pale white yellow.
Pale white yellow, thank you. Plum.
I can translate. A very deep maroon.
Yeah, that's, I think, Eternal Ink.
It is. You wrote World Famous the other day. I was like, ha ha ha, that's Eternal.
You said, no. Oh my God, that's crazy. I wrote...
You wrote it under the World Famous, and I was like, ma'am.
Disrespectful. Oh my God, I was
like,
so
also,
sorry.
somehow I ended up with your bottle of plum, because I had 2 bottles. So I was like, you don't need plum. I have both bottles.
That's hella funny. And then I would say those 2 and probably those 2. Those are my most consistent in my color palette.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes. 15. What colors do you avoid using?
Ooh, I don't like brown.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I just don't. I use it as like an undertone to things because it works much nicer for building soft shadows.
I agree.
And
like depending
your
on
warmer
how you
shadows.
mix it, brown's a good color to mix with other colors.
Yes, but I don't like it in and of itself.
Yeah, I'm not a big standalone fan of brown
so,
either.
No going brown. And I also am really selective with black. I'm not a huge fan of like a ton of black just because I work on a lot of older pieces where people put too much black.
If it's, I'm not a huge fan of a neon orange. There's a difference between a neon orange and a tangerine orange, though.
I agree.
So you know what I'm talking about, right?
I agree. I feel like that about neon yellows as well. Any sort of like
like a green yellow.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of a green yellow. I still have it in my cabinet just in case I might need it, but I find that I don't actually use it.
No, it occasionally works well on a darker skin tone because then when you tattoo it underneath a slightly darker skin tone, it dulls it down to a nice, really pretty,
like almost like a warmer yellow.
Yeah, like
totally.
a warmer, I would say like a warmer greenish tone. So it looks like Yellowstone in the skin of someone who has a lot of like
melanin.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of like yellow or red undertones. That's the only time that I prefer to use neons.
It's a good tip. That's why you keep it in your cabinet, right? Like,
yeah. But if you're like very fair, no.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of like a greenish yellow. Okay. 16. What role does art play in society?
Wow, that is a loaded question. I think that art is probably one of the most important elements of society.
Agreed.
Of actual like human like interaction, because I think it's really easy to look and be like, oh, well, art doesn't matter. I mean, they tried to do that in schools years ago where they took out all of the actual like creative aspects. But I think that's intrinsically what makes us human is the desire to create and connect with other people.
That's a beautiful answer. I think the same. I think that art it builds connection and also solidifies connection, not only with other people, but with yourself.
Yeah.
And if you think about art in like a broader scale too, like if we're thinking about like music and creating music and being an orchestra, it teaches the brain so many things. I don't know if the stat is true in like other schools, but in our school it was true. Everyone who was in orchestra tended to have a higher GPA.
Yeah.
Just because of the way, like the different muscles in the brain that it would exercise to be able to like create with an instrument was so insane. And I think that art is important for society as well, because I mean, that's like love, you know, to me, that's what love is. Whether art is serving a purpose, like for example, the hieroglyphics, or if it's just for your soul. Like finding that deep and tapping into your creative like soul, I think is really important for your mental health and well-being and emotional health. So
absolutely.
17. What do you think makes an artist?
I don't think that artist is anything different than like, honestly, I think that if you're an artist, you're an artist. I think it's the same way as saying that, like, you're a dancer, I don't think there's this, like, hey, you have to have these, like, rigid set of rules.
I agree.
I personally believe that, like, if you believe you're an artist, you're an artist.
Well, think about how sad it would be to be like, oh, well, you can't say that you can't dance because you're not professionally trained.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. You're allowed to dance in your kitchen at any point in time. Yeah.
I think, to me, what makes an artist is a desire to create, and that's it. Like, no matter what it is, if it's like with toothpicks, I've done toothpick art before.
That's right.
Like, no matter what the medium is, it's the imagery in your head. I talked about this when it comes to photography because I am old enough to have learned on film and then seen the revolution that happened with digital art and with like digital photography. And I was very purist in the way that I took photographs where it was like, hey, you take a photo because I grew up with like 24 images on a roll of film and film was expensive. So I was very purist in that sense. And I realized that like not everyone with a camera was a photographer because it takes an eye to see a photo. And I think that to me is the same as like when it comes to an artist is that there's a desire to create, which happens with an artist. And it's the same way with a photographer. There's a desire for a photograph. Like you can see the picture in your brain before it happens. And that's what to me makes like an artist or even like a dancer is it's like oftentimes when you see someone like they know what image they want to create or what feeling or like they know the end result before it happens. And that's that part of it is like, hey, that's what makes art is that like desired reaction from it or that desired, I guess, output.
Yeah, totally.
But it's not this like, oh, hey, you have to paint for 7 years or like you have to tattoo for fucking 5 years. Like, no, I think that it's just an intrinsic burning desire that lives within you that has to come out.
Oh yeah, it's like this. It's compelling you.
It's a compulsion that you're like, I have to do this.
Yeah, totally.
Because I can't rest if I don't. Like that's what makes people like. I think that's what makes creatives. Is they're like, I have to do this.
I think if you create something and it makes you feel anything, you're an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. 18. How do you define success as an artist?
I think it's hard to define success personally because I think that like every person has like a different desire. Like I'm never going to be the type of artist that I want to be. I'm aware of that because that marker is always moving, but I am very fortunate to have made an entire like career and I've always been able to pay my bills as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And so like for a lot of people that would be success. And I think like for me, the fact that I can like lean on that is like, okay, well that's success.
Totally.
But like, I don't know. I think it just like varies person to person.
Yeah. I think that like, I wouldn't want my answer to be like a solid, rigid thing for anybody because it will be different for everyone. Success as an artist to me feels like you are supporting yourself financially through your artwork, which is great. Hopefully. But also you're doing the stuff that you want to do. You're creating the things that make you recharge your creative battery as you're depleting it, if that makes sense. That is success to me.
Yeah, I think like because I think about that, like the artists that I follow online who like have whole other careers outside of producing artwork, and they generally produce artwork just as like a hobby.
Totally.
And I think of them as successful artists because they are still, so even though it's not like financially beneficial, you can tell the like love that goes into it. So I think it is that it's that like creating for the sake of fucking creating.
Yeah.
Like that's because if it was like, hey, I mean, that's why we call them sellouts. Like if you were just producing artwork that didn't make you happy, but you paid your bills, I personally would not consider that to be a success as an artist.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Like,
I wouldn't consider that successful either. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Why we're moving. Well, one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, if you're doing art that like depletes you and doesn't recharge your battery at all, but you just keep doing it because it gets you likes or it gets you like money. That financial gain. Then unfortunately I wouldn't categorize you under a successful artist just because I know how heavy that must feel.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it and I feel it. Number 19. Do you have any rituals or systems that help you be creative while you start a new piece?
So it's a little different if I'm creating for myself. If I'm creating for myself, that usually happens late at night. Mm-hmm. Everyone else has to be asleep. Mm-hmm. It's a very like, I mean, I have that sticker of art is masturbation for the soul for a reason. I very much like, I don't like to start sketches with other people around.
Totally.
I very much see it in the same sense of like, you're not in, I mean, props to you if you are, whatever. Mm-hmm. But you're not necessarily like in a crowded place when you're like, oh, let me start touching myself to see what feels good. And that's how I feel about art. Is that
if that's your jam, good for you.
Yeah, if that's your jam, I'm not shitting on you. And like I also understand the hypocrisy of that because like I love watching like you have the like videos where it's the start to finish of like a sketch, and I've tried that, but that to me, which is I now just realize how silly that is that I was totally down with an OnlyFans account.
Yeah.
But sharing the behind the scenes of my artwork.
Don't look.
Absolutely not.
That's so funny.
Like I've tried that where I have been like, okay, I'll put on the screen record on my tablet and I can turn this into a time lapse because I fucking love art time lapses. I think they're amazing. I love watching the creative process as you're like, no, yes, this is great. No, erase the whole thing, start over. But I cannot do that with a camera or with an audience. So it very much is the case of like, I'm going to go sit by myself in the closet and then just be able to like sketch and create. And I have to bounce back and forth between like digital and then on paper. Like a lot of times I have to do the preliminary sketch on paper still. And then I'll take a photograph of my tablet and then I'll like work from there.
It's a good ritual.
But I have to very much like, I have to be by myself and I need low lighting. I have little fake candles that I have and a little lamp in the closet. And then I had to put the lamp back in the closet after we sold the house. Because I was like, I literally can't with an overhead light.
So that way people weren't like, what the fuck is that lamp doing?
Oh, yeah. FYI, my entire office, which was my closet, all underneath cabooses and my clothes in the mostly under cabooses side, just because it has better feng shui over there. But like all of the office equipment I had in there, where I had the printer and I had everything set up, and it was great because I had a perfect little office to create in there, and a pillow so I can sit on it and lean against the dresser. Had to get rid of all that, so it's like much harder. But that is forcing me now to be creative in like different areas. So I'm getting creative in the like garage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very solo ritual for me. Art is very like private. Much like masturbation. Like it's not like for public viewing.
No one can see.
No one can see me draw.
That's so funny.
What's your art ritual?
Oh, well, my number one thing that needs to happen is I need to be listening to music. And I have specific songs. Like, for example, if I'm in a rush to get a design done, and like I only have this much time to get this design done, I have a very specific song that I put on that like basically catapults me back into that creative space, no matter where I am emotionally or where I am like
that's
in
so
person.
Cool.
I know, it's like my trump card, so I try not to overuse it, but it genuinely is my trump card for like when I need to get inspired right fucking then and there.
Wow.
And I would love to see if there's any science on like what like decibels or what it does to like an ADHD brain.
Because I can't listen to music at all.
Oh no, I have to be listening to music. That is like key to me. I can't not be listening to music and create. I think that's why it's so hard to like be in a room where like I know we're supposed to be like hanging out or like a show's playing or whatnot. For me to draw, because like I need to have
I can't draw then either.
Yeah, I have to have like a headphone in at least, and then I feel disengaged, and then like it's just too much all at once.
I have to have headphones in, but I have to listen to like someone telling me stuff.
Yeah.
And then I am
podcasting.
Yeah, like I have to podcast, but like I can't, like I struggle with like creating while listening to like political podcasts. So like I have to find
that
like
makes sense. Yeah.
stories. So they're like telling me a story that I can tune in and out of. So I usually listen to like books.
Oh, really? I can't do that. I mean, I should try, but I don't think I'll be able to tap in.
Well, no, because I think if your brain's music, because the problem for music for me is that 90% of music involves movement. Like music inspires movement in my body. So whether or not it is, I think there's a part of me that's like meant to be a dancer. That like every time I hear songs, I'm like, oh, this is how you move to that. And like my body knows like what it wants to do to a song. So then if you're like play music and stay still, then I'm like,
Yep, totally.
I need to move. And my hand is like, I don't want to create. I want my whole body to be the like expression.
Yeah.
So I have to listen to like a story to like keep that part of my brain like active, to be like, okay, you stay entertained over here, and then the adult can be over here to create. And then one of my favorite parts with tattooing is like, because I'll have like TV shows sometimes on in the background, or like I'll have an audiobook playing. And then when you go to like pull those same lines, I get to relive those like stories as I'm like pulling the lines where I'm like, oh, this was this part of the book.
That's
and, like,
crazy that you can remember that.
Oh yeah, God. It's great. Because then you get to like listen to it all over again,
right?
As you're like creating,
you're doing it.
Yeah, it like your brain like rereads that story to you.
That's really cool.
But I wish I could listen to music and have like a hype song like that.
Yeah, it's a jump start. It's so cool. I'm dope. Not gonna lie, it's my trump card. I like, again, if I'm ever in a rush to like complete a piece, all I have to do is play that song and it's fucking game on, dude.
That's amazing.
Instantly creative. So yeah, music for me. And then I can create in like crowded spaces, but I feel like that might just be because like now, as a tattoo artist, it's pretty easy for me, even if I feel uninspired, to be able to turn it on and create. It just depends on like what level, how much gas do I need in the tank? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even if I have low gas in the tank, I'm like, yeah, I can make it from like Plum to Virginia. I'll be fine. Or like, I could probably make it from work to home. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And that just comes from like being in this industry, I think, and being a commercial artist, where it's like people are constantly requesting you to do things. It gets easier. So, number 20. Wow, we're almost done.
Yeah.
What makes you feel creative?
What makes me seeing other artists.
Me too.
Yeah, like being at that tattoo convention and seeing tattoo styles that I forgot about, seeing like artists take inspiration from, like, I still am stuck on that hand piece.
Art by Santiago.
Yes.
Is their Instagram.
Fucking phenomenal. Yeah.
Fucking phenomenal.
the use.
Also gorgeous person. Oh
yeah,
my God.
Gorgeous person. I follow them on social media now, radiates just
elegance
yes.
and just God, classical tattooing in its purest form. It's so stunning. But also with this cool new age twist.
Yes.
That aquamarine fucking line that we can't stop talking about. Fucking crazy.
Seeing other artists and then also just being in new spaces, in creative spaces. I know we talk a ton about Disney here, but the reason why I love theme parks is because they are overly creative spaces. Mm-hmm. Completely curated by artists. Every part that goes into a theme park is thought out by an artist to be hey, let me create this. So I think you can sell that in cities that really think about Tokyo is very much like that. When you're in Tokyo, you're these are very intentional decisions. Mm-hmm. And so being in spaces where the actual space itself is very beautiful, and created to invoke emotion is really inspiring to me.
Absolutely. I think it's the product of so many people coming together and making mm-hmm. something so successful that is really moving to me.
Yeah.
Movies do that for me. A really good movie will inspire me. Music really inspires me. Getting tattooed by other tattoo artists really fucking makes me feel creative because I get to it's so weird that energy transference mm-hmm. that happens when you get tattooed, and I forget about that being on the other side of things,
mm-hmm.
with the person with the as the person with the machine most of the time, I forget that you can sense my energy too.
Yeah.
So when I get tattooed by other artists and they're just in the zone, it is so fucking inspiring to me. And so I just get so creative after that. So
I would know cool. My tattoo artist is not nice. So
my tattoo artist won't tattoo titties on me.
Yeah, my tattoo artist won't even get me back on the books.
Oh my God. We're moving.
For a piece they started.
Well, okay. Hello. January is open for pieces just for by Portfolio New Zealand. So.
Yeah, I would know about that. Okay. Last question.
What advice would you give to a new artist?
Okay, you should answer it first because I just realized that I've answered every question first.
That's okay. One of these days we'll just switch off, but it's our podcast. We can do whatever we want. It's fine.
I guess the last 21 questions.
Yeah.
I made you go first.
Exactly. So it's totally fine.
But it's the last question, so you go first.
Absolutely. Well, actually, it's our second to last question.
Okay, you're right. Jesus fucking Christ. Semantics.
23,
over here.
not 24. Okay.
We can throw in an extra question if you want to be 24.
I don't think it's necessary. My advice to a new artist is keep your heart open. Be open to any constructive criticism that you may receive. However, still keep in mind that a lot of art is subjective. So even if you get constructive criticism, please just try it out for the sake of just trying it out. See if you like whatever the fact that person said. But also keep in mind that if you have a particular vision, you just can't execute it yet. Keep in mind that you can get there with or without their criticism, but you might need it. So maybe just keep it in the back of your tool chest for now, even if it didn't resonate. Just be open. That's my advice to a new artist.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because sometimes advice really doesn't resonate and it just takes a minute for you to be like, wait a second, do I have that tool? And then being like, oh my God, I did need that this entire time. Surprise.
Yeah. I love that.
What about you?
Mine was on the same vein of that of you don't know everything. No one knows everything. Your mentor doesn't know everything. Your teacher doesn't know everything. Mm-hmm. So take as much knowledge as humanly possible and throw out what doesn't work for you after you've tested it.
Yeah.
Or you just know, because sometimes you just intrinsically know. I was never going to be good at charcoals. I never enjoyed charcoals. They get messy on my fingers. I didn't like them.
Don't like the way they smell.
Oh my God, I know, right?
It's a weird
Especially
smell,
the color charcoals.
Yeah.
They have a very distinct odor to them that I don't enjoy.
They smell like I shouldn't use them.
Yes, there are a couple, because it's the pigments in some tattoo inks that have a distinct smell. And there's a couple colors that I don't use specifically because the way they smell.
Some of them smell weird.
Doesn't fucking resonate with me. Mm-hmm. But that being said, all information is good information and you get to pick and choose. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's going to go through your filter. So if you're copying, and I say that in quotations for people not watching the video, if you're copying other people's stuff, don't worry. You're not a human photocopier. Very few people are. So you're still going to put your own inspiration on stuff. And especially in our industry, we talk a lot of shit about being inspired by other artists and being like, oh, you're just trying to rip their style. Every single person is an influence of other artists that they've seen. So you hardcore follow an artist, and if you need to trace their shit so you figure out what it is they do, cool. Just don't write it off as your own artwork.
Yeah.
And then create your own artwork from that. But it really comes down to just consume as much knowledge as you possibly can, and then produce what you want to produce. And also know that, like, as someone I've been a professional artist, that's still a weird thing to say, for a very long time now, it's A, it never feels real. B, artists are mean. So don't fucking take what they have to say to heart.
Sometimes they'll be giving you false advice.
Oh my God. That's a really quick side story. My mentor originally taught me, and this is specifically for tattoo artists, to always line at a 45-degree angle, which if you are a tattoo artist, you know that perfect 45 is, especially with like how heavy-handed he was, is a very great way of just getting blowout central and getting really inconsistent lines.
The perfect blowout.
Yes, it's the perfect blowout and a perfect fuzzy fucking line. And though I do not adhere to that like perfect 90 degree, I think that like you have to experiment with needles to like figure out what is the correct angle for you. So whatever gets you the correct, like clean, crispy line, perfect. I am known for having good line work. So that's not something that I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm good at this. And then anyone that looked at my profile would be like, garbage. But he specifically taught myself wrong, like myself and another person wrong. So that way we wouldn't get better than him. So sometimes artists will teach you shit because they're assholes. Sometimes they also don't know what the fuck they're doing. We talked about that before, where like I couldn't teach some stuff that I do. Like I can't teach my way of color packing because I don't know how I color pack. Like it just intrinsically makes sense the same way that like you doing stippling intrinsically makes sense. So basically, long story short, except that it was long story long, take everything, ingest it, and use what works for you and get rid of what doesn't.
Yeah, or just keep it in your tool chest for later. Yeah, honestly, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And also, if you get advice from someone that can't even do that thing, I won't blame you if you don't take it either.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's also a thing. If I ever get advice from somebody who does bad line work on how to do my line work, chances are I'm not going to take that advice. And or I'll just be like, noted. Gonna put that in for later. Probably not gonna use it, but who knows? Maybe I'll try it one day, see what happens. But no. But I think that concludes our 21 questions of the art edition of that. We only have one more question. So are you ready for this question?
I don't know.
What is your win for this week?
My win for the week is allowing myself to decorate our house for Halloween.
Yay!
Because I was really sad about not having a Halloweeny house.
Oh, for sure. I know.
And so being able to, A, not have to buy a whole bunch more stuff, but using like the tools that we already have. So like we're just going to put the removable vinyl on the windows.
Yep.
So we have big Hocus Pocus Sanderson sisters. And then I also cricketed stuff for the door. It looks being able to like have some creative freedom with our house for the little bit of time we have left with it.
Dude, yeah, I forgot how much joy decorations bring to me until you fucking put stuff on the door and then put stuff outside. And I was like, oh my God, those skeletons are working a lot. They're doing a lot of
little
heavy
dollar
lifting.
skeletons.
Like, they're doing a lot of heavy lifting here. They look good. That's so funny.
So that's my win for the week.
My win for the week, I think, is probably taking it a little bit easier. I worked a lot last week. This week, I did have an opportunity to film my Tuesday, but instead I decided to take care of some personal stuff. So tomorrow, it's mostly just consultations and then personal appointments and just doing whatever else I need to do. So that's my win for the week, is not booking that day for a tattoo.
That's a good win. I noticed that too. I was like, ooh, you had a cancellation and you didn't fill it. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
You got 2 little baby consults and then you get to fucking have the day for yourself.
Basically, I got to go to Wells Fargo, but that'll be an okay appointment. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it takes like 30 minutes.
Perfect.
It's so easy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
DMV, you need to send me my fucking ID. Anyways, with that said, said, thank you so much for listening to this crazy episode. I know we went on a lot of adventures here, but this was our 21 questions art edition. If you have any other art questions for us, seeing as we're both professional artists,
I don't know why that's such a weird, like, I'm glad you feel weird. I'm like, I'm a professional artist. And I'm like, I don't have a real job. It's fine.
I was like, what do you mean?
That's how I feel all the time. When you're like, what do you do? And I'm like,
I don't know how to make money.
I doodle on people.
For a living. Permanently.
I stab people.
Permanently doodle stab people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that serious, but it kind of is.
Yeah. It's a weird place to be.
Yeah, I don't.
I just remind myself all the time I'm not curing cancer, so it's fine.
Yeah. It's not.
Yeah. It's fine.
I'm not curing cancer. Don't look at me. Yeah. I don't know who did this tattoo. I know that I have gloves and machine in my hand.
Oh, yeah, but I
don't know who
blacked
did that.
out the entire time.
That's how I genuinely feel sometimes.
That's how I feel. I like that
with
piece really I did today when I was redoing that tree, and I was like, holy fuck, this tree is a fucking nightmare. And then I got done with it, and I looked and I was like, who did this?
I'm always
because I also genuinely I'm gonna go on this really tiny tangent really fast. I Sharpied on shit just to like make her feel like I fucking knew what I was doing.
That you were pre-prepared.
And then I did not follow the Sharpie at all. I just like picked up my tattoo machine and I took alcohol, wiped the Sharpie off when she laid down, and then I just fucking took my tattoo machine and I looked at it when it was done and I was like, you don't draw trees, bitch. Maybe you should draw trees. This is a good fucking tree.
Isn't that crazy when you have that experience of like, oh, damn, I didn't think I could do that.
I know. I'm like genuinely looking at it like, oh, I did not know how you were going to save that thing. But thank you to whatever art Holy Spirit takes over.
Whoever possessed me just now.
I think about like that whole Jesus takes the wheel where it's like, Jesus takes the wheel. And then you're like, Art Jesus, take the wheel.
No, literally.
And it does. And then you fucking come back into your body and you look at the tattoo and you're looking at it the same way your client is, where they're like, oh my God. Yes. You're like, I know, right?
It's my favorite thing. I did this to Cole. Another short story. I swear to God. I did this to Cole in the middle of their tattoo. And I was like, Cole, I hate to say it. And Cole's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, it's turning out really good.
I did that to Rachel.
Cole was like, why would you say it like that? Holy fuck, dude. I thought you were going to be like, we have to reschedule, or like, this isn't turning out the way I wanted it to. Like, why would you set it up like that? I'm like, I don't know.
That's so true, though. It's because you're like, you look at it and you're like, who did this? And they're like, you did. I literally watched you. And you're like, I didn't.
Wasn't me.
Yeah. I often think in those moments, I'm like, do I have a split personality? Is there like an artist that lives inside of me that just like takes over my body?
I'm kind of wondering, I'm like, okay, is there any therapist out there that's like, these two really have to work on their imposter syndrome in this industry? Because that's not okay. Or how many of our clients are like, bitch, what?
Oh,
you blacked out?
Yeah.
I don't black out, but
I do. Yeah. I just fully dissociate. And then I get to go on this tattoo journey with you.
And I wake up and I'm like, oh, fuck, your tattoo's done.
I'm like, your tattoo's done. And it's great.
Yeah.
How surprised are we?
That's the kind of blackout that you want with your artist.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get tattooed by drunk people. All right. That's it.
And on that note, thank you guys so much. We'll see you back next week when we'll talk about whatever the fuck we don't know yet. Probably our fucking party, our 1 year anniversary.
If you're not doing anything on the 19th, come by the shop. It's from 7 to 10 p.m. It is a Halloween themed party. The Barbie box will be Halloweenified. It'll be spooky, ooky, kooky, megalodooky. So come on by.
And if my face looks surprised, that's because I didn't know what the time was. I was like, oh, that's our hours? Okay.
Oops.
Yep. So on that note, we love you guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.